Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 25th of November 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimers. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, also just before we jump into the charts, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which we update on a daily basis. So I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here for yourselves, guys. So yep, feel free to visit us on jfdbank.com and click on the tab here on the top, click on the research page. So now then, let's jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the Nikkei, so the Japanese index. So a quite interesting developments happening here. So looking at the cash index right now, we can see that it is pushing a little bit higher. It's currently trading roughly around the 23,340 mark. So this is quite interesting, of course. I mean, after we had a nice reversal here to the upside on the 21st of November, it is trying to make its way higher. We can also draw something here as well. We can draw this little short-term kind of tentative downside resistance line here. And looking at, as I said, looking at the cash index right now, we are trading slightly below this downside line. So in a way, as long as it kind of remains below this downside line, still the downside risk kind of remains here. So in a way, the index could reverse and push back to the downside here. But again, at the same time, the index is stuck above this upside support line here, taken from the low of the 26th of August. So in a way, as long as it kind of remains above this upside line, we will stay kind of positive overall. Now, some of you might draw the upside line this way as well. So let me just kind of put this one on the chart. So capturing this little swing low here, but the only thing is that it actually it doesn't really go well around here at this point. So that's why, guys, we're gonna get rid of this, and first we're gonna monitor this area here, this upside line, and of course this area that I just talked about, the area near the 23,340-50 zone, so just slightly below this downside line. So of course if we look at it across the board, the equity markets, the cash indices, and the European markets are picking up a little bit on the news that there was some development happening from the trade talks, and this is what I talked about this morning, guys, to keep an eye on the news surrounding the US-China trade talks, and of course the UK elections, because there's not a lot of economic data coming out today. So that's why, for now, looking at this picture and looking at the at Nikkei, there is a possibility for this one to push higher. The only thing is, ideally, we would like to see not only a break of this little short-term downside resistance line, but also a push above the recent highs, or should I say the current November high near the, let me just put this one on the chart quickly, near the 23,591 zone. So this way, of course, a forthcoming higher high would be confirmed, and the next potential target to keep an eye on, let me just jump into a daily chart on this one. So the next potential target to keep an eye on is, of course, this little high here that we had in October 2018. So in other words, the highest point of October 2018, and that's roughly around the 24,448 zone. So in a way, if we get a push above this downside line, yes, that's wonderful for the bulls. The only thing is that to be a little bit more comfortable with higher levels, we need to see a push above the 23,000 591 zone, which is the current highest point of November. If this gets broken, yep, we will start considering higher areas. If this downside line continues to hold, we could see another slide lower here. And let me just jump back into a 4-hour chart on this one. So we could see this one drifting back down again. To be honest, with the downside, it would be a little bit tricky here. In a way, we could try to find some of the levels, but for example, maybe we could consider this little area here, but it got violated here previously. So you could keep an eye on something, or in a way, you could just keep an eye on the psychological 23,000 level, and then it's somewhere around here basically. And if we see a drop below the psychological 23,000, then in a way we will consider a possible move lower here towards this upside support line, which in a way could still provide some support. So that's why guys, it is, on one hand, it's very interesting. There are some possibilities for this one to move higher and even to move lower. I mean, well, as always, to be honest. But again, at the same time, be very careful, because even if it's, let's say, drops lower here, we need to be very careful with the downside, because it's still above this upside line, and in a way, any kind of move lower could be seen as a temporary correction before another leg of buying again. So that's why be very careful. But in case this decides to break this downside line straight away, this is where it could become a little bit more exciting. But then just for that extra confirmation, a push above the 23,591 zone, that's what we would be looking for. Quick mentioning of Nasdaq100 here. So with Nasdaq, the index is also trying to make its way higher. It's currently trading near this little barrier at 8,308 zone. So basically, previously when I talked about Nasdaq last week, I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this level, because if we get a push above it, then there's a possibility for a further move higher. But again, to be a little bit more excited with the upside, ideally we would need to see a push above this. And let me just grab this arrow here. Oh, it's too small here to grab it. So there we go. Maybe this way will help. So in a way, we need to see a push above this above the all-time high figure, which is roughly near the 8,357.58 mark. And if we get a push above this, then yep, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could see this one traveling higher. But if we get a push above the 8,308 zone, yes, we will consider slightly higher levels, but we will be very careful near the all-time high, which is, as I said, near the 8,358 zone, because if it holds, we could see another slide lower here, and this way we could be forming ourselves a nice double top. But again, that's a little bit, I'm trying to get ahead of myself a little bit here, but still to keep an eye on this idea, still do that, guys, because again, this happens sometimes, and especially when we are at all-time highs. So for now, be very careful with this one. In case this decides not to travel all the way here towards the 8,357.58 zone and starts dropping straight away lower, we'll get comfortable with the downside after we see a break below the 8,228 zone, and only then we will consider further decline. So for now, keep your eyes on this one, but it is leaning more towards the upside. It would be quite interesting to see if it could reach the all-time high figure again, and maybe form a double top and then sell off. Now, this is an ideal world, but let's see how the market plays out. Bitcoin, something that I talked about this morning, and basically this morning I was telling you guys that we could be seeing a bit of correction here, given that the crypto was quite overstretched to the downside. Now we did get a correction, but initially, my aim was somewhere near the 7,000 level. We got a hit of that, but in order to get comfortable with slightly higher levels, what I was saying, that we needed to see a nice good push back above the 7,333 level. And as you can see, the crypto traveled higher, tested this area, and now it's kind of still trading below it. So in a way, let's keep an eye on this one. This area here for us is somewhat of a neutral one, because for us, like I said, to consider slightly higher levels, we need to see a nice good push above the 7,333 level. Maybe ideally a 4-hour candle close could do that as well, could help us out here, and we will then aim for slightly higher levels. But again, the upside could be limited due to this downside resistance line. So like I said, keep your eyes on this one, guys. It's quite interesting. And for now, all eyes are on this 7,333 level. So let's see how this is going to play out in terms of the downside. If this suddenly starts dropping back below the 6,819 level, now this is where it could become again quite interesting for the sellers, and we could start considering maybe lower areas. But for now, it's knocking on the door of the 7333 level. Let's see if you can actually go through that door. DXY, very quickly on this one. I haven't looked at this one for quite a while, but it's quite interesting. So basically looking at this formation here, or should I say this pattern on the 4-hour chart, you can see that we've managed to find support. The index managed to find support near the 97.68 zone, from which it kind of started reversing back to the upside, and now it's traveling higher. The only thing, the big question here is, can it overcome the highs that we saw here in around mid-November? And that's roughly the 98.45 level. So that's the current highest point of November. If it can overcome this, then yes, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could start targeting further moves, further upside. So some levels to consider are like the 98.65 zone, which is marked by the high of the 15th of October. And of course, let me just grab another marker here. And another level to consider is around here near the inside swing low of the 9th of October. And that's roughly around the 98.90 zone. So in a way, for now, everything's kind of leaning more towards the upside. But again, just to get a little bit more comfortable with higher levels, we need to see a push above the 98.45 level first, and only then we will consider further moves higher. The upside is also supported by this this upside line here, taken from the low of the 1st of November. So in a way, as long as it kind of continues to trade above this upside line, we will remain somewhat positive. So let's keep an eye on this one, guys. In a way, don't get me wrong, we could see something like a test of here of the 98.45 zone, then a reversal back down. So basically, and then it could in a way end up testing the this upside line again, which if provides support could lead to a rebound, and basically what we would be getting ourselves here is a nice ascending triangle. So for now, keep this idea in mind, of course, but if it starts breaking clearly the 98.45 level, and if we see a daily close above this level as well, then to be honest, this is looking quite looking more positive than negative. USDCHF. I talked about this one last week, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this rising channel pattern, and of course this upper bound of this rising channel. So it did have a nice retracement after it hit the 0.9979 level. It retraced a little bit lower, tested this area here, and now it's trying to climb back up here. Of course, it does have a full right to climb higher, but again, it could be limited near this upside upper side of the rising channel pattern. So, and at the same area, we do have another potential area of resistance, another level of resistance, which is near the 0.9996 level, so which is the high of the 15th of October. So in a way, this is a very perfect spot here for a nice resistance. So in a way, we could see the pair traveling a little bit higher, testing this area, and if it struggles to overcome this area, then we could see a nice round of selling here, a nice correction here to the downside. So let's keep an eye on this one. If of course the upper bound gets broken and we see a move higher straight away, well, I mean, the next potential area of resistance to consider would be around here near the highest point of October, and that's roughly around the 1.0028 zone. So we'll keep an eye on this one, but for now the main focus falls on the upper bound of this rising channel and this 0.9996 level. Can these two hold the rate down? If they can, then we could see a nice bit of correction here back to the downside, maybe even going back all the way here towards some levels right here. For example, the 0.9937 zone, which is the high of the 20th of November. So previously it acted as a good area of resistance. Now it could take the role of support. So that's why, guys, and this level, by the way, could also be supported by this upside support line here, so taken from the low of the taken from the low of the 18th of November. But again, like I said, guys, consider first, let's see what he wants to do near the upper bound here. If he wants to retrace lower, then yes, we will consider a possible move lower here, and then we'll take it from there, guys. Let's see how this is going to play out. It's quite interesting. GBPCAD. GBPCAD is also at a very interesting spot. So basically it managed to rebound nicely here last week on Friday from its upside support line taken from the low of the 14th of October. The only thing is that this area for us here, and as you can see by the highlighted areas here, by the highlighted levels, this area here in between these two highlighted levels is somewhat of a neutral territory for us, because for now it would be a little bit difficult to make a call here. If we get a push above the 1.71, 73, 74 zone right here, then yes, we will consider a possible move higher. The only thing is that we'll keep it short and simple. We'll only target the current highest point of November near the 1.7270. If he wants to travel higher, that's wonderful. A new higher high for maybe for November. Let's see. But before we could examine a further directional move to the upside, we need to see a push above the 1.7174 zone first, and then, yep, like I said, we'll target the upside. In terms of the downside, well, not only that we need to see a break of this upside line, but also a drop below the Friday's lows, or in other words, the low of last week near the 1.7037 zone. So if we see a drop below this, yes, this would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could target the area near the 1.6914 mark, which is basically balancing roughly around the, or should I say, the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart is balancing roughly around this level. So very good potential area of support, but in order to consider this area, we need to see a drop below the 1.7037 level. So let's keep an eye on this one. And the last pair for this session, that's euro dollar. This is what I talked about this morning. Basically, we needed to see a drop below the 1.1016 zone before we could examine further declines. And yes, we got this break, but what I was saying as well, we're not going to drag this one too much to the downside. We're only going to target initially this 1.0989, and then we'll take it from there, because this is a very strong area of support. As you can see previously here on the 15th of October and also on the 14th of November, it acted as a fantastic area of support. So that's why we're initially going to target this one. If it wants to break below this, then yep, that's wonderful. We'll reevaluate the pair again, but for now, this is the level that we're targeting, and then we'll see what he wants to do after that. If he wants to rebound a little bit, okay, that could be possible. We could see a bit of a correction here to the upside. For us, let's say, to start considering slightly higher levels, well, ideally a push back above the 1.1043 level. This is where we will start considering higher levels. The only thing is still, as I've mentioned this morning, for us to get comfortable with the upside, ideally a push above the 1.1093 level would be required. So that's why, guys, for now, the upside is slightly off the table. We are leaning more towards the downside, but the downside could be limited near the 1.0989. If we get a test of this one, if we get a touch, then we'll reevaluate this pair again. All right, okay, guys, so thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. I hope you found it useful. If you want to join me tomorrow morning, as always, at my Trader's Espresso, that's 7 o'clock GMT time. For now, I hope you have a beautiful trading evening, guys, for those who are still trading. For those who are finished for today, yes, I'll see you tomorrow, and in general, I will see everyone else tomorrow as well. But anyway, guys, stay safe, have your stop losses in place, and please join me tomorrow morning at my Trader's Espresso at 7 o'clock GMT time. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.